Okay, hey, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. I have a really cool review for you from the brand Spinnaker. And about them, they pretty much offer classic nautical design aesthetics in an affordable, modern package. In terms of the type of watch, this is a dive watch, some key characteristics and design. What you're looking for a diver, you're going to want water resistance, typically some type of screw down crown. You're going to something that's tough, legible with a dive time bezel, and a diver's extension is always nice if on bracelets. This is their Spence 300, and it's actually a special limited edition known as the MCS Capsule Edition. And it's the Spence 300 we've already reviewed on the channel before, and it's essentially just an ultra thin diver that's actually still capable of 1,000 feet or 300 meters of water resistance. Now, this special particular run of them are actually made in collaboration with the Marine Conservation Society, and this limited edition features an MCS original illustration of a blue whale on its dial, and it also does have a special engraving on the case back. And the way that this dial looms is actually really cool, interesting as well. So really another nice feature too that I guess I should probably mention is that a bonus is that this does come with the standard stainless steel bracelet, but also a recycled polyurethane NATO style strap as well. So very cool, fully loaded. You can get these for $650 direct from the brand, and these should be going live as of June 16th, and the press embargo will be up on the 8th. So I'm going to plan to go ahead and publish this video on the 8th. So with all that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. Okay guys, well, I really love the colorway here. Even apart from the really neat design that they have there with the blue whale, just the colors, the use of blue, the steel bezel, the loomed sections of the bezel, the pops of orange, it all really works for me. So that, and then of course it's in their thinnest dive watch yet. So they have this great super thin profile, 300 meters water resistant watch. Another update is that they actually did change the clasp from like a V buckle style to just a push button, because this is more of kind of a a daily wear type versus, let's say, a super dedicated dive watch. And I think it's cool that they kind of recognize that, so they made something that was going to be a little bit more comfortable and thoughtful in terms of your daily wear. Now, in terms of the dimensions, 40 millimeter case, 10.8 millimeters thick, and that is including the crystal and everything, so not too shabby at all. 48.1 millimeters lug to lug, 316L stainless steel, which is going to be brushed pretty much majority, and then it's going to actually have some nice high polished chamfers as well. Let me give it just a quick little wipe here. Oh, of course, when I wiped it, I scooted over the bezel. But let's go ahead and check that out. Beautifully done there. Check out that nice brushing, nice polishing, great transitions. And while we jumped over to the bezel action, ooh, very nice indeed. So nice bezel action. The alignment on the pip is very close. There is a slight touch of play, but it does rest on there. So like if I was to try to creep this forward to get it to align perfectly, it would ultimately kind of just go back to resting a little bit further back. So I'll go one more forward and then kind of let that rest. I'll say now it's a little too forward. So yeah, it is very close in terms of lining up. Unfortunately, the one that I have is not a completely perfect alignment, which honestly happens, right, from time to time. And I've had way more expensive watches that didn't line up in terms of like, big expensive Swiss stuff that doesn't always line up perfectly. I mean, there's brands that are out there that are very expensive that they will tell you straight up that they can't even guarantee the alignment on there. I won't name which German brand basically gave me that feedback when I kind of reached out to make sure that I would receive one with great alignment. So just that's something to think about, right? If you're going to be a real stickler for that. But I will say, depending on the angle you're holding it on, you may not even notice, right? If I tilt the watch just slightly, everything looks like it's perfect. So versus even if it was aligned perfectly and you tilt the watch just slightly, it's going to look off anyway, right? So enough about that. Let's also get into the fact that this does have a very nice signed crown, screw down, big crown style. Of course, as you guys would recognize, it does have Miota 9039, no date movement, so there's going to be no ghost position. It's also going to be what helps this be quite thin. You're also going to get this great case back. Check it out. Very cool, and you can see kind of mirroring that dial design. So very cool with that light etching there. Then getting to this dial, guys. Really handsome dial. You have that blue whale illustration, plus the gradient nature of the dial where it's getting a little bit darker with the brighter center. You're getting printed indexes, you're getting nice brushing on the hour and minute hand, and then painting on that seconds hand, which really pops. You're getting Swiss Superluminova, which is great. 20mm lugs, which make it quite versatile, and it does come with an extra strap. But let's talk about this bracelet. If you didn't see the standard review, this is a really tidy bracelet, and it's quite thin. The nice thing is it has very short links here, so you actually don't need a half link, and they have a nice contour to them, quite round, so it doesn't look like your basic kind of oyster style. Definitely has more of a retro vibe, maybe more of a subdued kind of presidential style here. Normally presidential would be rounded just on one side, then flat underneath, but you can see this has a little bit of kind of a rounding on both sides there, and it is nice. The proportions are cool too. You're kind of getting a bit of an equal. Sometimes you'll find where the center links are much wider. Here they're going to be very I'd say proportionate to each other, which I think is a nice look. And of course it is this is very well contoured, not contoured, what's wrong, very well articulated. So you can see there that it's not like three links stuck together. Each one of these links actually are articulated. So you can see that you can get great articulation in terms of getting this on and off the wrist, as well as just when you're wearing it, you can definitely expect more comfort just because there's going to be more willingness to bend and flex to your wrist. It also does offer a slight taper down to 18mm here, and then you do again have this updated push button clasp, which is very nice. It also has a nice polished chamfer there, which I can give a quick wipe here. And you can see also quite a few manual micro adjust positions there, a bunch, if you really want to get this dialed in, which is very cool. So with that said, let's actually take a look at some of the special packaging this comes in. So you're seeing this slip here, and of course with the theme being the Marine Conservation Society, these are going to be things that are meant to be made out of paper, right? So for easy recycling or anything like that. You're also going to get this great pamphlet, which is going to give you a lot of great information in terms of, how to conserve, what they're doing to make a difference. All very conclusive there, and I'll leave, the full on, details to the folks that do purchase one of these. Limited edition card, very cool. Note again from the and it's actually signed, very cool, from the Marine Conservation Society by their looks like their chief executive. So very nice. And then you can see, of course, this is going to be paper and everything like that, which makes sense. But a very cool feature is that you do have, bam, check that out, a little. So even though this is made out of kind of cheaper materials, it's nice to see that they didn't cheap out on the design. And you're gonna get all the bits and bobs here really nicely put away. You get a little spring bar changing tool there, also some spring bars because in case you want to use them for this lovely strap. Check this out, and this is actually made out of recycled nylon, and you can see the weave is actually very nice. A little bit on the thicker side, but that makes it more robust. And the nice thing is, since it's such a thin watch, having a thicker NATO strap isn't going to bother anything. You're also going to get that nice fully milled hardware there. And then also, of course, the holes are backed by this, looks like faux leather, which looks really good. So this works fine. I typically have a larger wrist. So a lot of the times for me and the NATO to work, it has to be either extremely long, so I can get that double fold over working, or it has to be extra short so that I can just pretty much just use the keepers to kind of hold everything down, and I'll have less hangover there. But I think this looks really fantastic. I'm personally more of a bracelet guy, so I'm going to leave it on the bracelet here. But with the color combinations, you can see that looks really great. For me, I think a really great one would be to get it on something like that. Check that out on an orange tropic. That really pops, especially with that steel bezel. You're getting the little touches of orange. The blues are really going. That just, for me, feels like so much fun. So with that said, we'll clean up all the boxing stuff and then actually get this on the wrist and see how it wears. Wow. I really like the way this looks. Sits beautifully on my 7.5-inch wrist. My goodness, still a lot of visual presence there, even though it is, yeah, just a 40 millimeter diameter, and it is super thin. But of course, if I get the watch and my wrist a little bit too close to the camera, there's going to be a bit of distortion in terms of your perspective. So what I will do is I'll leave my wrist nice and low and just tighten up the shot here so you guys can still get a detailed look while getting a truer aspect ratio in terms of the way everything might lay on your own wrist. You can see beautifully centered there. Great touches of color on the dial. And I really think the thing that I really like about this illustration with the whale is that at a glance, it just looks like a cool design. Like, you don't necessarily see the whale always. Of course, you can see the little fish and everything, or, you know, whether it be, you know, the way the water's moving and everything like that. I think it just looks really cool and is well balanced. And it could, of course, been pulled off and been a little bit more cartoony. And I'm glad that it kind of went with a more artistic route. You know, if I'm just looking at this and I'm not really focusing, of course I can still tell the time, it's very legible, but even if I blur my eyes there, it's just a pleasant use of colors, and in terms of, you know, some points being more or less saturated than others. So very, very cool. My gosh, I really like the way this wears. And again, I think this would look fantastic on an orange rubber tropic strap. So if you are looking for something like that, I think that'd be a magnificent pairing. And who knows, if you keep an eye on my Instagram, I'll probably get this on a tropic strap at some point, get some wristwatch shots there for you guys. But until then, what we'll do is set up for some loom shots, low light transition, and closing thoughts. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the lights here. Oh, yes. Check that out. My goodness, that is very, very cool. You can see mixture of C3 and of course BGW9. You're getting that green tone, you're getting some blue tone. This is really, really cool. I like that they did this, so you actually are also having some fun, and you're even noticing again the details even in the darker setting. I just think this is fantastic. But one thing I always like to work in, of course, into the loom shots is some low light transition, because you're not always going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of times you're going to find yourself coming in and out of buildings, walking underneath overhangs, or just hanging out underneath the shade of a tree. Maybe spend some time in your favorite automobile. So it's great to see what these colors, textures, and finishes render like in less than optimal lighting. And you can see that steel bezel just goes to work. Look at the gorgeous way that it plays with the light. You can see how uniform the light glides over the brushing on the links. Very, very nice. Definitely doesn't look like some low quality there. It looks like it's really well finished. Even if I get in some harsher lighting here, high contrast, that would typically expose any types of, you know, production defects. You're going to see still very nice in terms of the way that the light is just rolling off that beautiful satin brush. And again, the loom there is very, very strong. And even just the layout, even on the steel bezel, in terms of legibility, it does a great job. It really, really works. So very cool. And that dial, it just has that nice gradient blue to it. You can see how it lights. You can see the way that the whale kind of can get charged up and give you some extra tones, right? As this does absorb some sunlight or whatever light source it is, you can see there's a bit of green that wants to pop even when it's having direct light on it. That will transition out and just give you something really fun. So very, very cool, guys. I'm a big fan of this one. I'm not really, you know, it's hard for me to hide that. I'm an enthusiast first, before I'm a YouTuber or whatever you want to call it. I just like watches, and I like collecting watches. I like experiencing new watches. And again, at this price point, with the thinness, with the water resistance, and now with this really special package, I think this is just really cool and well done. So for me, guys, let's get into the closing thoughts. On the wrist, wears really great, super thin, and lays very flat for a secure feel that really locks in, then melts away on your wrist. You do get that revised clasp, which now feels less bulky and flows with the case and bracelet more naturally, which is great. And then also, hey, you're getting 20mm lugs there, so it makes it a, you know, perfect for pairing with something like an orange rubber tropic strap. Definitely check out my Instagram, you know, for updates on that to see how I wear this one this summer. And then in terms of model variations within this series, so of course there are other variations of the Spence 300, you know, that are just different colors and whatnot. Definitely you can check their site for availability. But in terms of this particular series, there's actually the Haas model. So these are going across different model lines. So there's the Haas model that actually has a sea turtle motif on its, you know, and it's a diver watch. And then there's also the Cahill giant squid, which is really cool. And those are at two different price points, a little bit cheaper than these, than this particular one, just because of the movement and, you know, just their different spots within within Spinnaker's own line. So that sea turtle motif diver is going to be $445, and then the giant squid is going to be for $370. So very cool. In terms of comparable models, you know, that $650 asking price definitely elevates this thin yet capable diver into a very competitive space, right? Very competitive waters. But for me, I think its felt form factor paired with strong specs and an aesthetic that should have a decent amount of crossover appeal between casual buyers and enthusiasts alike. Just to help it kind of be its own thing. Like, I dig that you can, you know, get really in with the theme with this and think, whoa, this is awesome, I want to support that. Or you can just be a casual, you know, collector and just think like, oh, I want a cool sports watch, a cool dive watch. I want one that's thin, that's very wearable, that has this balanced look to it, very classic, but hey, modern punches, right? Like, you can, like, enthusiasts and non-enthusiasts will think that this is a fun, very cool watch. And then of course it has the specs to back it all up. So whether you're going to be a real stickler in terms of money for value, or you're going to be a real stickler in terms of, you know, design, aesthetics, and, you know, brand ethos, or, you know, the sentimental reasons of why you might want something, there's just something for everybody here to enjoy. So I think that's very cool. So for me, guys, bottom line, yeah, this is just a great new variation of, you know, I'd say a favorite within the Spinnaker line. Like, I think the Spence is such a cool watch, and I'm glad that they're doing more variations of it. If Spinnaker ever asked me to do an Average Bros collab with them, I would probably choose the Spinnaker as the base watch, because it just, you know, checks all the boxes in terms of being thin, wearable, and ultimately capable. So with that said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked the video, please do a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.